You're going to have a lovely tan.
I always do.
All right, well, good evening. We'll go ahead and get started. Tonight, to start off, we have a public hearing. It's a leasing hearing, a 1028 hearing, and a hearing on additional appropriation series 2015. So, Dr. Deichel, I think you're going to take us through that?
Yes. What we're looking at is doing a $4.5 million bond issue for the radio TV stations at Jeff High, Charlestown High, and a radio station in New Washington. It also includes the berm at Charlestown High School, as I affectionately call it, the ski slope, and then also some other minor projects that we're doing at other schools between those three. What we're looking at is a lease agreement not to exceed 6 years. The lease annual payment would be $990,000, payable on June and December, June 30th, December 31st. It'll start on June 30th of 2016 and go for 6 years. That's really, the tax rate that we're looking at for this bond issue is about 4 cents is what it'll cost the taxpayer. I think that's about it. Anything else that we need to bring up in the hearing?
I think we open it up for public comments, so are there any public comments tonight? All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting, so thank you, Dr. Deichel.
All right.
I guess we can go ahead and get started. We advertised for 7:05, right? Yes, we did. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and start with the regular meeting. So, Renee, please show all board members except for Ms. Gilkey present. And if you will join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I liked it better last time with all the kids.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Me too. All right, so the next item is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes tonight?
I would like in the consent agenda to pull the travel separate, please.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right, well, I need a motion to accept the agenda with the exception of travel. We'll pull that separately.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. I think I saw Ms. Zollman. So, all right, all in favor? Be 6-0, thank you. All right. Next item is public comments on agenda items. Dr. Millen, do we have any tonight?
No.
No? Okay. And next we have board planning, goals, and strategies. We have a parent advisory update.
Board, as you know, part of our strategic plan is the establishment of a parent advisory. It's been a great group, and they're highly engaged in the process. Mrs. Zollman is your representative on that group and was in attendance at our last meeting. And the focus of the last meeting truly was more of a networking opportunity where all of the different representatives from our different schools could talk a little bit about best practices, things that they're doing related to engaging parents or fundraising. And it was very exciting. I mean, just to hear the passion that's in all of their voices and how proud they are of what they do at their schools. And I think it was really helpful because even though we're one school system, sometimes one building may not know what another building's doing. So part of the action plan was to have this networking opportunity, and that's what we did at our last meeting. And so that was very, very exciting. We've upgraded the action plan and provide that to you, and you can see in the actual results column, you can sort of see an update on what we've done. So on goal 1, related to communication, remember, it talks about each school should share more school-based information via newsletters, social media, Power School, etc. And all schools, with the exception of Charlestown High School and Jeffersonville High School, produce newsletters. Social media pages include Facebook. You can see all the schools listed. A lot of our schools, and that's one of the things, a lot of our schools are using social media, but some aren't. And so one of the things that's happened as a result of these opportunities to network is that they're starting to get more engaged in learning from their colleagues, other parents. So I think what we'll see is a social media presence in every building that's out there because so many parents use it, whether it's Facebook or predominantly Facebook for most of the parents. The principals produce newsletters, of course, as well, which I talked about. Another big exciting thing is Aaron Bajorquez, our supervisor of communications and public relations. We're talking to a company right now about the development of an app, a Greater Clark app. And on that app, it would be a quick reference guide for all parents and staff to use for any information that people would want to know about Greater Clark. And this was something that came out of this parent advisor. It was one of the big initiatives. The networking was one, and the other was some kind of a parent reference guide. People who wanted some quick answers, how do I go and get it? Well, we did the research in this app. This company produces this app, and it would provide that immediate search, capability for people. If they had a question, they could go on the app, they could do a quick search, and it would take them right to the answer. So the app is, we're working on it now, and the hope is to have the app up and ready to go by the start of next school year. So that would be, I think, pretty significant. So those are the two big ticket items that we have focused on. So we went ahead and delivered on the networking event, and now we're working on the app. And so I think we're in pretty good shape from a parent advisory. And we've had anywhere from 20 to 45 parents at our advisories. And there are a couple of schools that are in transition, and we need to keep them fully engaged. But most of the schools are very active on this group, so I feel pretty good about where we're moving. I don't know if you have any questions or comments about the parent advisory.
I think all this is great. To me, it would make sense that we would channel all of our efforts, like each school. It seems like some of them's on Twitter, some of them's got Facebook, some of them does newsletter. What about if it's, hey, let's everybody get a Facebook account, let's everybody hit Twitter, and that way emergencies pop up, parents know which way to go, which way the information is going to come from. And that would maybe also hold the parents more accountable to be involved with their school when they make friends on Twitter, when they like it on Facebook. So that may be something you want to look at in the future.
Absolutely. I think that's a good point, and I know that we have listed on here those schools that are currently on Facebook and on Twitter, and the other parents that were there, I think they're in a process where they're trying to get themselves started as well. So my hope would be, Mr. Hall, that by 6 months from now, you'll see every school represented in that area. So it's a good thought.
Dr. Millen, help me with the makeup of this committee. I mean, is this a good representation of all the schools? Are these mostly PTA, PTO type folks? Or are they just parents or?
Sure. How we started it was we started with the parent-teacher organizations, the PTOs or the PTAs, and we said, let's get the presidents or their designee. So the hope was that with 18 buildings, that we'd have 18 people. Well, what started to happen was that a lot of them started to bring more than one individual. Some of the schools have 5 or 6 parents that they bring because they focus on all their officers. The last meeting that we had, New Washington had another event, so usually the New Washington contingent is always represented, both the elementary and the middle high, but there was an event up there in the community, so they were not able to make it to that meeting. But there are only a couple of buildings, and they're really high schools that we need to focus on because they don't have an organized PTO or PTA per se, but I have asked the principals to form parent advisories at their buildings, not just booster groups, but advisories. And I need to work with those principals to make sure that we get one of their representatives from that group to come to the meeting. But so of the 18 schools, we usually have representation from as many as 16 that attend, and we're trying to get the other 2.
That's really great. Okay. Any questions for Dr. Mellon? All right, thank you. Next, we have the Multicultural Advisory update.
That is me as well. And again, we have a good group. Mrs. Kraft is your board representative on that advisory, and appreciate her commitment and involvement and as well. The last meeting that we had, it's really a great group of people. The numbers usually range somewhere between 10 and 20, sometimes closer to that 10 or 12 range. But the people we have are very passionate about what we're trying to get accomplished. We're always looking to increase that group as well, by the way. And so what we've done with the Multicultural Advisory, we've also produced an action plan as part of the strategic plan. And we've listed this for you, and there's an actual results column. So for example, we've been looking at the work of Ruby Payne so that more of our staff understand what individuals who are coming from a more impoverished background, what their lives are like, so we can be more sensitive to that. So we're looking at a book and or speaker relative to that issue. Doesn't have to be Ruby Payne, but I've had some past experience with her. We'll also, a big exciting part of this, I think it's exciting, and I think our group does too, is our home visits. We're looking at the potential to have home visits where our teachers or staff would visit our incoming kindergarten families, our 6th graders and our 9th graders by next school year. We've tentatively looked at July 25th as a date. It's a Saturday. We would find a way to pay a stipend to the individuals who would do this. Kindergarten teachers would visit their own families, and the middle schools and high schools would ask for individuals who'd be interested in doing it and going out on that day and knocking on doors and saying, here's who we are, and we're here to say hello, and we're looking forward to having you involved in our school corporation. And we've done this in one other district I was in, and after 4 years of doing this, we did a survey of our community, and this was the #1 most effective thing that we did of all the different initiatives and interventions. Our staff learn a great deal by going out and visiting these homes and neighborhoods, and it also shows our families how much we care about them. So this would be done all over our school corporation, and we think we can find the funding to make it happen. And so we've already talked to our administrative team about it here this past week, and of course I'll keep you fully involved in every step of the way. But that's probably one of the most exciting pieces that we're working on. Most of our schools are already doing some kind of I call it a celebratory event, celebrating diversity. In fact, I think almost every single one of them is, but we'll put an actual list together here to make sure that we are fully covered. I just did not get the opportunity to do that for you before tonight. We've implemented a leadership academy. We're trying to, goal 2 is how do we alter our recruiting process so we can bring more individuals of color into our district. That's a challenge because there are not a lot of candidates to begin with, and oftentimes when they're available, larger urban settings have a tendency to offer more dollars, and that's where they go. So we said, well, how do we develop leadership from within? So we have a leadership academy that Dr. Hare has facilitated, but also using our career pathways, identifying our current students who want to consider education as a possible career path, and let's lock them in early, give them experiences while they're still in high school, and then maybe even establish partnerships with some of our post-secondary institutions in our area where they could stay close to home, and if they were top-notch performers, they would have a job opportunity upon their graduation from college. Because I think that's what we have to do. We've got a diverse population. We've got to identify those individuals that are top-notch teacher candidates, and can we keep them close to home and bring them back right here to Greater Clark. So it's been a good group. Any questions or comments?
Can I just pass these out?
Yes.
Okay, this is a little paper that says in English, Do not be discouraged, you're not forgotten. And it's in several languages, and that was what we passed out at our last meeting. It just kind of brings to focus. We have, what, 36 languages spoken?
I
in Greater
think it's
Clarksville?
31, but
Okay,
it may have
31.
added since then. I don't know. It's possible. I think it was 31 languages, Dr. Hartledge, is that right?
That's a lot.
Wow.
Yep.
Dr. Millen, I just had one question on the home visits. Is that done, I mean, do they go in groups to do that, or is it individual? I mean,
Usually, what we're proposing, and the way it was done in my past situation, was you partnered people up.
Okay.
You went to visit, it may sound like a lot, but 25, actually a total of 50 families, 25 per individual. It can all be done in a 4 to 6 hour period of time on a Saturday. We would start with a breakfast, they would have a map, they would get all their logistics down, so what are all the homes I need to visit, so as I go here, I can touch these homes and then go over here. But they would go with, and they would not go into the homes, knock on the door, say hello, introduce, and we'd produce a bag with some information in it and maybe some kind of a special token related to our school corporation. And so if someone wasn't home, their door, I think they're called door hangers. So if someone wasn't home, they still have the bag that says, hey, sorry, we missed you. Here's some information. We're still looking forward to it. But we'd have everyone going in twos.
Love the idea. Okay. Further questions for Dr. Millen? All right. Sorry, we lost my screen again here. Okay, next is the policy review, Neola. So Ms. Lewis going to take us through that?
Thank you and good evening. Happily, we have the first 3 sections of this 10-section policy of Neola now loaded and available for your review. We are asking that you take a little time in your day and go through the policies. Certainly, they have been reviewed by our cabinet members who have made suggestions and recommendations based on their various departments that they work in. Dr. Mellon has reviewed all of them, and I began the initial review and preparation of them. So you've had 3 separate sections of people taking a look at these before they come to you for your consideration. If in the review, because we posted 99 policies out there for your first set of reviews, if there are changes or questions that you have about the policies as they are currently posted, we are asking that you highlight your question or your recommendation. Go ahead and type it in and highlight it, and then in parentheses after your recommendation, put your initials so we'll know which one of you might be making the recommendation, and if we have follow-up questions, we can come back to you and contact you about that. We will present this first series of 99 policies for first reading the first meeting in April. So then the next group, the next section, it should be 3 series, 3 or 4 will be posted for your review on or before the second meeting in April. And then we'll kind of go through the same process. If you all are looking at those and you have questions or have recommendations that we haven't really thought of or maybe haven't addressed, you highlight your area, add your language in, put your parentheses and your initials, and then we'll move through that. We'll do the first reading April 7th, the posting of the second group, the second meeting in April. The first reading for the second group will be the first meeting in May, and then we will post the final group for your review at the second meeting in May. And then the first reading on that final group will be the first meeting in June. Then between June and July, the first meeting in July, we'll get everything compiled and everything ready for a final reading. And this is based on a recommendation that's come to us from Neola. They recommend that you adopt all of the policies at one time because you don't want to overlay on policies that we have in place that might be contradictory to one another. So we'll do a final reading at the first meeting in July and make our recommendation that all of the policies be approved at that time. At the same time, we will recommend you rescind all of the existing policies that we currently have as GCCS policies, with the exception of those that we'll be adding into the Neola policies that you've already approved. You won't have to approve them again at a second time, but we'll let you know what ones those are. So we're on our way. I think everybody will
huge
agree it's
job.
kind of a time-consuming process, but we're happy. We're moving that direction, and certainly if you have questions or concerns, I know Mr. Hall made an inquiry this evening that I'll look into on a voting issue, but that would be something, if you question, go ahead and mark it and put a parenthesis by it, and who made the question, so we can get back with you or we can address it. But thank you all. It'll be a little time consuming for you, but we appreciate your patience and your willingness to take a look at all of this. It's kind of exciting.
Board, what we've done, as you know, is we've provided all the policies for you on Google Drive. You should have an account, should be able to get in, should be able to access any issues, any problems, any concerns. You not only can reach out to Pam Maples, Sandy's assistant, or also Renee, and they can be of help to you in that regard. You can go right into the document, and if multiple people can be making edits at the same time. So now you have just one document that everyone's working off of. That's why it's generally a good thing to do. So what we've done is we've provided those to you, and you can go in and you can edit those things. But if you have any problems or concerns, you can always print these out, or you might read through and say, well, that policy's fine, but this policy, I have some suggestions, and I'm not, the Google Drive, maybe it's not what you want. You could print that one policy off. You could go ahead and make your adjustments and then get that. We're just trying to minimize the amount of paper that's going back and forth so that it lessens confusion. But whatever you want to help you in the process, we'll be happy to do. Thank you, Sandy,
Thank
for your
you.
work.
Thank you. Right, next, we have the student clinic update. Dr. Hare. That just got a nice ring to it, doesn't it,
It
Dr.
does,
Hare?
finally. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Payne. Student clinic, numbers are down a little bit from last month or the previous month due to the snow days. Just with the snow days, we didn't see as many kids. One of the trends that we did see, although we saw fewer kids, was we saw a lot more kids who have primary care physicians. You know, in the past few months, I told you that we were seeing more kids that didn't have primary care physicians. This month we did. I think word is slowly getting out. There is a little bit of a convenience factor that we're offering now, but clearly numbers still not where we want them to be. I've scheduled a meeting as soon as we get back from spring break and the intercession with our health assistants and with the nurses to really talk about the procedures and making sure kids and parents know about this. You know, we've done a school messenger. Our elementary schools are putting it out in the newsletters, but we've just got to continue to promote this. We're getting very, very positive reviews from both clinics. I was at both clinics last week just doing visits. Everything in both places, it's going really well. It's utilization. So we've got to do everything in our power to increase utilization. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with your board is that we did receive a $10,000 donation from Community Foundation, I think from Dr. Mellon's hard work that'll go to offset some of the costs. So we did get that in, and that's good news. So continue to plug away. I think the takeaway for today is we've just got to continue to let our parents know it's out there. Our parents love it. We get great reviews when we use it. We just need to let them know that it's out there.
Dr. Miller, would it make sense to send this actual report out to parents? I mean, this is a pretty comprehensive report. It talks about, you know, the top 5 diagnoses and what grades are using it. I mean, this is pretty easy to understand. I mean, even board members can read it, and so just thinking it might be worthwhile to get this data out to our parents.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be at all a problem for us to have it on our website and send it out to parents and make sure they can see it, because I really believe that, as Dr. here mentioned, what's happening is with more people who have primary care physicians coming, I think that there was a little bit of a situation there where some of the primary care providers thought there was competition. But there's a great line of communication that goes between the clinics and the primary care providers. So we're just there as a supplemental, we're not there to take their place, we're there just to supplement. And so I think anything we can do to get that news out is helpful. And I want to thank Dr. Dykle. I had nothing to do with the 10,000 Community Foundation donation. They were very, we had to apply for it, and they had to consider it, and we were one of a few programs that they decided to fund. And I think there are other funding sources that at the end of the year, when we go out and we say, okay, here's the data, this is what's the impact that it's making, I think we'll get more funders for the clinic as well. I wanted to make sure Dr. Here's done a great job, Dr. Dykle with the funding source.
All right.
This, this board member has a clarification need. When you talk about the summary to the parents, I noticed that we're not at 100% at Charlestown. Is that because some of them are 18 and we don't need to send a summary to the parents? Or are we not? I mean, I don't understand that.
That could be it. I don't think that's what it is.
Okay.
Some of them, the parents are with them.
So we don't have to
So we
provide
don't
a
provide
summary?
a summary with them. They're there with them there, and those are the ones we're not sending because they're right there with them. That's been their explanation. Yeah, the
Okay.
parents are there and they've got it and they don't need a summary. They don't send anything additional to them.
Okay.
I will make sure I'm correct, but I'm 90%.
The parents is probably saying thank you, but I don't need that, is what my guess
I asked
is.
the same question the first time I saw this.
Yeah.
To Teresa
Okay.
Stanley, that's what she said. So, but I'll make sure next month when we come back to address that.
I just want to make sure that
Yeah, I understand. Our parents are being.
our parents are informed.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Further questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Hare. Next, we have the fund monitoring report. Dr. Dykle.
Okay, make it bigger, because I can't even see those numbers. The general fund, we're doing pretty good. We're forecasting a decrease in our revenue, or ending cash balance at the end of the year for raises. It's a small decrease. We went down about $600,000. Renee, go up a little bit. I want to show them one thing into the revenue side. Go up a little bit further, and then go back to February. Move it over just a tad. This 698, that's the impact aid money that we get for River Ridge, Public Law 874, because it's federal land. So we're still getting that. It's coming in January, February. So remember, there was a time where we got 3 payments in 1 year because they weren't giving us the money. So this is helping the budget every year that we get to 698,000. At some point in time, it'll start decreasing as more of the land is sold off and there's less federal land available. And then at some point in time, I want to say it's around 2,000 acres that's left, the money will go away. We won't see it anymore. But that's a nice addition to our general fund budget, almost $700,000. Debt service, there's really no activity, so we can skip over that one. And pension debt, go to capital projects. You look at that. We do have numbers now for the tax caps. It's gone down a little bit, mainly because our assessed valuation went up by $60 million during from 14 to 15. Tax rate dropped 13 cents, so that means our tax caps dropped. So that's good news. So we're looking at a net here in capital projects of $413,000. We're showing a tax cap of $588,000 is what we're projected, and I hope it comes in less than that, because that's always nice. Transportation operating, nothing new to report there. We're looking at a negative $69,000 at the end of the year. It's $100,000 less than where we were last year in December. We were at $162,000 in the red that we had to transfer over to the rainy day fund. But look at the tax cap, $417,000 or $617,000. That's a big hit for transportation. If we didn't have to worry about that, we'd be in the black in that fund. Bus replacement fund, we're looking at 97,902 in the red, but that'll be adjusted. We won't be in the red there. The tax cap is 166,000. That, if it moves anywhere, you know, it may drop maybe another 10, but we won't buy as many buses. We'll just make sure that we stay under our numbers there. And then the rainy day fund, $3,541,000 on that one, and we still have to pay back 2 interfund loans that we took out for Project Lead the Way. So we'll pay those in June, and that'll bring it back up. So we're looking at $3,541,000 as the number there. Overall, budgets look good, so we're happy with that.
Questions for Dr. Dykle? All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Next item is student achievement, graduation rates. I know you're anxious to talk about this one, right?
Very anxious to talk about this. You know, Board, to me, the two most important metrics, in my opinion, are graduation rate, which tells you that your kids are completing successfully your program of study, but also the other metric that we just track, which is that post-secondary acceptance piece. So if they're graduating, have they been accepted to a four-year college, two-year college, et cetera. So this graduation rate data is very, very important. If you'll go to the next slide. Back in 2003, the state decided on a new formula. Now, it was a national movement, but Indiana became a leader at that time because they went ahead and implement this new method. And it basically was looking at cohorts of students as they enter ninth grade. And are they able to complete and receive their diploma in 4 years? So that's the basic premise of it. So, and if you think about it, if you go onto the IDOE site and you look at graduation rate, it can be broken down into different categories. So for our school corporation, based upon 13-14, we had 94.4% of our students graduate in 4 years. Still in school at the end of the year were 1.9% of our students. They weren't able to quite complete, so they're not that four-year graduate, but they're still in school. Taking summer school, they maybe even have to come back for the first semester following that. But they're still in school, which I don't think that's a failure. I think that's a positive. And then 1.4% of our students earned a special education certificate. These are students that cognitively are not capable of earning the regular diploma, but they have a program of study that they have to follow, that they have to complete, and to me that's a success story. Then there's also a high school equivalency, or as you remember it, the GED. And now if you look at our breakdown, you can see that to me we have a success rate of 97.8%. I call it a success rate. 97% of our kids are doing something where they're successful. We had 2.2% dropouts in Greater Clark in 2013-14. I mean, that's well below the state average. That's outstanding work on the part of all of our staff, teachers, administrators, all of our support staff. So graduation rate, again, I mentioned 94.4%. That's well above the state average of 89.8. And you can see how we compared to 12-13. So we were 4.2% to the good this past year, and I'm very proud of that fact. Non-waiver. I'm going to explain the waiver process more in a minute, but bottom line is there are students who can earn their diploma through a waiver process. And so this is a non-waiver graduation rate. These are kids that earned their diploma by meeting all the regular requirements, including passing their Algebra 1 and English 10 end of course exams. So you can see how we've improved from 12-13 to 13-14 by 3.5%. And again, we exceed the state average in both of those categories. High school graduation rate. So looking at our specific schools, you can see compared, each school compared to the year before, and you can see tremendous improvement across the board. New Washington High School in particular, you can see you know, what they've been able to get accomplished. So very, very excited about those numbers. Look at the non-waiver graduation rates. So again, these again are those students who've earned their diplomas through meeting all the regular requirements, including passing their ECAs. You can see the improvement we've had from the previous year. And again, it's a focus. I will tell you that Dr. here and I've talked about this a lot, and it is a focus in our district. We're putting a lot of pressure on all of our administrators and counselors at our high schools. We're going to get kids to graduate. Now, before I go any further, I just have to say this. This happens for a couple of reasons. We have staff that's so dedicated to our kids that they don't give up on any student at any time for any reason. If they have to go to their homes and drag them out of bed to bring them in, that's what they do. You saw both Corden Porter and Clark County Middle High, you saw those staffs and the commitment they have to these kids. People say, well, how do you get these high graduation rates? I mean, we do have 58% free and reduced lunch. I mean, we do have, it's a fairly impoverished school corporation. It's higher than the state average. Well, how are you doing this? Because we have staff that's made it a priority. That's how you do it. We don't let any child quit on themselves. Now, we have 2.2% dropouts. That's unacceptable, okay? That's not what we want. Those are kids that we couldn't quite win over, but we're not ever going to stop, no matter how you cut it. So the next slide, please. Now, compared to the area, you can see that our graduation rate is actually number 4 compared to the other districts. But look at the non-waiver graduation rate. We're number 2. If you look at all of the high schools in our area, you can see everybody listed there. And again, you can see the non-waivers. And in parentheses, that's the actual percentage of waivers that have been granted. So for example, at Jeff High, you have 8.6% waivers were granted. The state average, I believe, is 6.4% for the entire state. Charlestown High School, only 5.7%, well above or better than the state average. And look at New Washington High School at 3%. So you can see how we compare, and I think that's really vital, Board, the fact that our diplomas are earned. The waiver process is not something that's an easy process to go through. We don't have many students who get a waiver. And I think that is a testament to the fact that what we're doing is we're not making it easy for students to walk out of here with a diploma. And with our College and Career Initiative Board, as you know, we need to make sure that when our students leave us and they're accepted to that post-secondary opportunity, that they'll be successful. We don't want them to go get a job or go to a post-secondary institution and not be successful. So the diploma has to be meaningful. And I believe in our corporation it is. The other thing, it's not in this data, but our honors diplomas increased from 25% to 29% over the past year. I mean, that's a significant improvement in 1 year just for our technical and academic honors diplomas. Now, we're still about 5% below the state average, but again, we improved 4% in just this past year. If you go to the next slide, please. So waivers, this is really the state guideline. How does a student get a waiver? Well, they can do it in one of these 3 areas. They can successfully complete their Core 40 coursework. They can demonstrate to the satisfaction of the high school that they have met the achievement standard measured by those end-of-course exams, the Algebra 1 and the English 10. Or they can be completing an internship and a workforce readiness assessment. So waivers aren't easy to come by. They don't happen very often in our school corporation. And again, I'm just very, very proud of the efforts of our administrators and counselors working with individual kids and families, the teachers that we have all over our district doing the great work they're doing, but in particular in our alternative settings, where these are kids that are really struggling to succeed in any other way. And you've seen proof of that in the past. So that's the report on graduation rate. Questions or comments?
What is the percentage of special needs students we have?
16%.
16%. So when you look at our overall graduation rate, I'm not going to say that, you know, all of those students, all the students that are special ed certificate obviously are part of that percentage of
Right.
special ed students. But that means a whole lot of our special ed students got a diploma
Mhm.
and graduated. And when you look at the waivers, the percentage of waivers, that means a lot of those students got their diploma without going through the waiver process.
Right.
And to me, that is what stands out in these statistics. That can only happen from really, really hard work being done by our teachers and our counselors and our administrators and our parents and our students. And I just really applaud that.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Can we do that? Can we clap for ourselves?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Mr. McLaughlin, Mr. Wonky, please pass on our thanks to
Yes,
that group out there. What a great achievement, and over to the admin as well. I mean, very proud of those numbers, so thank you.
And it doesn't just happen in the high schools. You know, that work ethic and that got to get your work done and got to strive to do better starts, you know, really, really young. And
Great
thank
point.
you.
Yep. Okay, next is the 2013-2014 intercession data.
Board, relatively quick, but we are going to be entering our 4th intercession coming up here in a couple of weeks. But what we wanted to do is go back and look at 13-14 last year, both fall and spring, and just give you some data, because we're spending a lot of time, a lot of energy. We're spending some money in order to help fund this through paying for our staff and transportation and food service and so on. So we wanted to give you some data. And if you can look at this data, you can see that we had 1,252 students that attended the fall intercession. This is fall of 13. In the spring, 1,553 students attended. There were 628 of those students who attended both fall and spring. The average daily attendance for all those students was 4.1, so it's a 5-day, so it's over the 4. 1,327 of these students either took the ECA exam or I-STEP. 672 of them passed. Now, who attends intercession? The students who attend intercession are the kids who are below grade level readers, predominantly. They are in danger of being retained. These are our students who are academically at risk. And if you think about our population that's attending, you know, close to 15% there in the spring of our students are attending. And look at the percentage of passage for the corporation. 51% of all students that went to an intercession, one or the other, fall or spring, ended up passing their ECA or their I-STEP exam. These are the most challenged academically kids that we have, and 51% of them ended up passing ECA. The average growth, standard scale growth, was 21 points for those students. So it is making a difference. And I know it's time consuming and there's money involved, but it's sort of hard to argue. That's 51% of our kids. Now, did they pass entirely because of intercession? No, we can't say that definitively. But having up to 40 hours of additional instruction, all the students, those 628 that attended both sessions, they got 40 hours of additional instruction, focused instruction predominantly in the reading and math, reading area predominantly, some math, and 51% of them passed their state assessment. So I believe that we're doing good work with our intercessions. Questions or? I have to thank Karen Spencer. She puts all this together, and there's a lot more detailed report board than this is a summary, but Karen Spencer does an awesome job putting all this data, and if you would like a more detailed report by school and so on, I certainly, could provide that to you.
Do we have any idea, Dr. Millen, what our numbers are going to look like this year? We think they're going to be up, down? Do we know yet?
I know that the fall intercession, we had more numbers than the previous fall, and I believe the spring intercession should be at least at the same level as last spring. I haven't looked at the master list because it just is being finalized, but it should be around that same number.
All right. Well, thank you for two great reports. All right, next we have the consent agenda tonight. We have 5 items. I would like to take all of those with the exception of, let's see, travel, I think it was. So items 1, 3, 4, and 5. I'd like to take those as one.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft. Any questions, comments on those? If not, all in favor? And opposed? None. Okay, be 6-0. All right, then we'll take separately the travel. Have a motion to accept.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Ms. Kraft. All right, questions, comments, travel? All right, all in favor? Be 5 and opposed? Be 1. Okay. All right, next is gifts to building. Ms. Perkins, would you do the honor of gifts to buildings?
I would love to, as soon as I can find it.
Sorry.
No, that's, goodness gracious, $13,527 this month. That is an incredible amount of money to be given to our schools. And if you look down that list, you'll see that our recipients were Charlestown High School, Charlestown Middle, Jeff Hyde, Jonathan Jennings, New Wash, Pleasant Ridge, River Valley, Riverside, and the big hitter there was the Community Action of Southern Indiana playground structure, which the purpose of it is for our Pleasant Ridge students, and it was $11,845. But all of the contributions were are well needed and well received, and we appreciate it very much. And I would move that we accept these.
All right, thank you, Ms. Perkins. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. White. Questions, comments? All in favor? Be 6-0, thank you. Next, we have 6 action items tonight, the first being ProCare addendum.
Board, yes, this is a contract with ProCare Therapy. Jackie Duffy will provide contract services as a speech-language pathologist starting April 13th and running through the end of the school year. The hourly rate is $62 with a maximum of 7 billable hours per day. And Jackie will work 2 days per week, and the cost is paid out of general fund. But again, Board, it's this ongoing issue of speech pathologists, and they have other options and opportunities. And well, as I said, we're going to have to work hard at long term what kind of compensation we're providing, and because I think what happens is we get some good ones and then they look for other opportunities elsewhere. So we need help, and this is the way to do it. It may not be the best way, but it's certainly a high quality way of doing it for the rest of the year.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Any comments, questions? All in favor? Be 6-0, thank you. Next is the 1028 resolution on the 2015 series bonds. Dr. Dykle, you're up again.
Yes. If I can take a moment, I'd like to introduce our special guests that we have. This is my dream team that I get to work with. Well, almost dream team. He knew who I was talking about.
Look at that.
But we have Jennifer Hudson. She's from London Witty Group. David Wimmer, he traded positions now. He's no longer with Hilliard Lyons. He's now with, how do you pronounce it? Piper Jaffray.
I left you a little introduction, regarding my new company, national firm, and we'll open more avenues for building and pushing bonds, which is always one of the situations when you're able to go from a regional firm to a national firm, and we decided about the opportunity to sell it to us.
And then
I have a
we
question.
Oh.
Do you get to talk more? Because you were concerned about that.
I did sign the agreement, Nancy.
Allowed to.
Okay.
And then we,
As authorized.
and then we have Thomas W. Peterson, our bond counsel.
Yes.
So, welcome. I want to say this is the first time I can do this. Can we take all three as one?
Sure, sure. It's, that's what, 3 and 4? Yeah, we can do that.
2, 3, and 4.
3 and 4.
Okay. Number 2, a public hearing was held prior to our regular board meeting tonight, and we need an appropriation in the approximate amount of $4.5 million to undertake 3 proposed renovation projects, including but not limited to the radio programs at Jeffersonville High School, Charlestown High School, and New Washington Middle High. Also the TV stations at Jeffersonville High School and also Charlestown High School. Funds will be provided by a bond issue by the Greater Clark Building Corporation. Number two on the list, or number 3, resolution accepting patrons' petitions. We had 200 patrons sign the petitions asking for this bond to go through. I signed it 3 times. It's my Lake County roots, so I just wanted you to know that. This resolution is necessary requirement procedure to continue the steps towards the Series 2015 project. Notice a public hearing was advertised and as required by state statute. And then the last one is we have to do an additional appropriation to appropriate the $4.5 million. And a public hearing was held prior to the regular board meeting today. An appropriation in the approximate amount of $4.5 million to undertake the 3 proposed renovation projects, but not limited to the radio programs at Jeff High, Charlestown High, and New Washington Middle High, and the TV programs at Jeff and New Washington. Funds will be provided by a bond issued by the Greater Clark Building Corporation. Superintendent recommends approval of all 3.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dykle.
Motion?
Okay, so the motion is to actually do all 3 items, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, Ms. Kraft, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions, comments for Dr. Dykle or Dr. Mellon? Or their dream team? Okay. All in favor? All right, be 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dykle. Next item is the contract with e-learning summer conference spotlight speaker.
Yes, Board. We have, as you know, an e-learning conference that comes up July 24th. We actually have a contract for John Spencer in number 5 and for Matt Miller in number 6. So again, if you don't mind,
We'll take them.
these are both keynote speakers, contracts, all paid for through the grant, through the state. So if you don't mind, I'd like to recommend that you approve the contracts for both of those speakers as presented.
So move. Thank you, Mr. White.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions, comments on those 2 items?
Do we have any information what their keynote speech will be on?
Yes, in fact, today, Mr. Clark, and what I'll do is I'll have him come in and maybe make a presentation, say in about a month or so, but he shared with us all the speakers that are coming in, that he's already secured, a lot of them coming from around all over the country. But what's really neat, Board, is there'll be a lot of our own teachers and staff members presenting. I think 31 of our own staff members will be presenting this time around at this e-learning conference. There's going to be a focus on literacy and technology, and trying to make sure that how do we integrate those 2 concepts. I'll have Mr. Clark come in, though, and make a presentation. He's done a lot of great work, a lot of great speakers, and really gotten a lot of input and feedback from our teachers and our staff to make this, because as you know, Board, this is a required event for all of our certified staff on Friday, July 24th. So,
Okay. Further questions? All in favor? Be 6-0. Thank you. Next, looks like we have any board reports or requests. So, Mr. White?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Ms. Perkins?
No, thank you.
Ms. Solman?
No, thank you.
Ms. Kraft?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Hall?
No, thank you.
All right, I have nothing. Dr. Millen, any public comments on non-agenda items?
not
No?
tonight.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll, Mr. Hall, I'm sorry, Mr. White, board comments? Start to go the other way.
And I have none, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Perkins?
Well, I would like to say what a great time Teresa Zolman and I had. Over the weekend, we came to the Disney Music in Schools tour and got to listen to Ray Lynn, just a delightful young lady. And the Give a Note Foundation gave Thomas Jefferson $1,000. And I came away from that not only thinking this young lady is really a very talented young lady. I had not heard of her, but now I know who she is. But her message was very good to the kids. And, you know, work hard, set goals, work hard, work hard, work hard. And that's what she's done in her life. And she was very down to earth, and I really appreciate being able to attend that. Thank you.
Ms. Zolman?
Well, I'm ditto on the same thing. That was a wonderful performance, and I think the kids really enjoyed it. I also am very honored that Jeff High has been as successful as they have been. Their Footloose program was just wonderful, so I congratulate them.
Thank you. Ms. Kraft?
Well, I guess we didn't mention Aramark again. I just think they're so good at what they do, and they serve such good food, and it's healthy for kids, and I just appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Mr. Hall?
It's so nice to hear about the graduation rates increasing and good things going on in Greater Clark.
Totally agree. Dr. Mellon?
Just a couple of things. Again, just publicly, I want to recognize that Travis Hare is now Dr. Travis Hare. Congratulations. Very, very proud of him and his accomplishment, and also want to thank Dr. Dykle and Dr. Hare, because all of this work for the radio and TV program, you know, from the planning phases, the program itself, the financial pieces of it, none of that would have been possible without those two individuals and others. There's been a whole team, but I want to publicly thank them. There's a lot of work there. And then just from a fine arts perspective, you know, in April, we're going to be bringing some people for board salutes to you from Jeff High that have been honored individually to represent Jeff High School themselves at a national thespian competition that is going to be pretty neat. And then the Jeff High program was also nominated to go to Scotland to represent North America at an international competition or an international festival. That will also be more detailed. I just thought last Friday was a celebration. And I said that in my comments. You feel good to see kids from elementary and high school on that stage, all of the staff members, elementary and high school, that are just there celebrating what helps to make our country great. So I appreciated that very much, and very proud of all of our students and our staff.
All right. Very appreciate those comments, Dr. Mellon. Last item, adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Zolman. All in favor? All right. Good evening.